It's not every day you see this, a newspaper editorial attacking the disgraceful treatment of President Bush, and it was written by a guy who has worked for John Kerry and Bill Clinton. I want you to meet attorney Jeffrey Scott Shapiro. Jeffrey, good to have you. Your premise, it wasn't about politics, it was just about decency. Could you explain?
Exactly. I think that it was an emotional piece, Neil. I think that it's very obvious that President Bush is someone who cares deeply about people. He cares deeply about America. I think that after September 11th, he lifted our spirits at a very dark time. He did a lot of things for this country. And for some reason, this country has really turned its back on him, and I find that to be very sad.
What have your Democratic friends been telling you since this piece?
Well, I've written about 20 pieces like this, Neil. I started writing them in 2003. I wrote a piece for Insight magazine, which is owned by the Washington Times, where I compared President Bush to President Lincoln. And the reason I made that comparison is because, of course, President Lincoln's presidency was about ending slavery in America. I think that President Bush has a vision to end slavery worldwide. And I think that any liberal should realize that liberation is a part of being liberal. You're promoting human rights. And so I've been getting hit pretty hard for about 5 years now. I'd say that my work with the Kerry legal team back in 2004 was a last-ditch romance with the Democratic Party, a chance for me to try and rekindle things and see if there was anything about them that could motivate me. But their attacks on the president were so severe, I didn't feel like I'd be faithful to my country if I continued to work with them.
Now, your basic premise is poll numbers have dropped. You know, when things happen under the big guy's watch, good or bad, the big guy either rises with the fortunes or falls with the foibles. And lately, the appearance is a lot more foibles. The economy's suffering, there's financial rescues. So a lot of your old friends come back at you and say, look, I mean, it fell under his watch, and that's not personal, that's business.
The fact of the matter is that many of these things were building up for years, if not decades, Neil. The economy is in a crisis right now because all of us in this country, in our own way, are probably responsible. At least a lot of people are. I don't think you could pinpoint any one particular group or any one particular person.
Well, I agree on this one. In the last 2 years, I mean, for Congress to say we don't know what happened. Well, you've been in the majority the last 2 years. If you're going to paint him as evil, you might as well, throw a couple of locusts on your shoulders and conclude you're a little evil too.
Well, I think that this goes back to basic American principles. I mean, we're a country of individualism, and individualist freedom means individualist responsibility. We have to take responsibility for our own actions. There are a lot of people who are responsible here, people who took out loans that they couldn't cover, the banks, mortgage companies, mortgage brokers.
You're absolutely right.
There's no question about it. You can't put it all on the president. That's just completely unfair. The president has a good heart. He's someone who has reached out to people, and I think he's the first to admit that he's made some mistakes and he's less than perfect. But when you have a good heart and you're reaching out, sometimes you have to reach back.
Well, he has never, in the times I've interviewed him, like I've said here in the past, he has never responded in kind. He has never gotten small or petty back at them. So that's unusual. I'm Italian. I would not react the same way. But, very, very interesting insight. Jeff, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Well, forget the possible